Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Afternoon Tune. I'm your host, Josh, and today I got a special guest co-host. I got Neil. What's going on, Neil?
Not a whole lot, just avoiding the heat down in Texas and just living the dream. How about you?
Pretty good, man. Just trying to deal with the heat as well. Yeah, it's been a burner, all right. Mm,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it's August. August is always a burner month.
yeah. But hey, trying to stay inside as much as I can. But yeah, so dealing with that. But
Right.
good stuff to talk about today. Gonna do a worst of 2025. We already did best of 2025 there. So get into that. Just worst movies of 2025 so far. And we're gonna do how we did before, just go back and forth, giving our list there. Do you got it numbered in any particular way or no? Or
No, not nothing. The last one is going to be the worst, but everything else is just kind of all the same ranking.
okay, very nice there. And then after this stream, go ahead, raid somebody. The chill spot he's on right now. Good guy, friend of the channel. He's been on plenty of times before. So he's watching a movie over there. Who else is on right now? Melon's Chloe's on right now. She's also a good person to raid after this. Yesterday and today I was doing some streaming. I was playing some Silent Hills. I was doing some video game streaming there. Just felt in the mood for that.
Oh,
Um,
good. The Silent Hill 2 remake?
Yes, the Silent Hill 2 remake there. Scary as hell. I say that. Very, very scary.
No kidding. That game is creepy as hell.
So I made it out of the hospital and I'm now in the historical society section. So
Oh, yeah.
uh
Oh boy, that next section is gonna be a doozy for sure.
what Sage is telling me, Sage from Rated Infant Maturity is telling me this is the longest part and it's the most deadliest part of the game. So yeah, kind of dreading that a little bit, but yeah, a lot of scary creatures going to be coming up in this next part here. But yeah, Silent Hill 2 remake game came out. What, it was a couple years ago, a few years ago now. Uh,
The remake came out in October of last year, I believe. So
okay.
almost a year ago at this point. And yeah, Bloober Team. I had never played a Silent Hill game before this one, but they did a really good job of updating the gameplay, from what I understand, and just making a really genuinely scary game in its own right. So good job to them.
Yeah. Great sound design, creature design, performances there. That's all really fantastic. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm terrified, absolutely terrified of this. But yeah. So yeah, doing some video game stream there. I know Metal Gear Solid is coming out. Snake Eater Delta, I'll be getting that.
All
Uh,
right.
Playing that on stream as well. It'll be my first time playing it. So
I look forward to hearing your thoughts on that. I'm a big Metal Gear fan, so I'd be very interested to hear from a newcomer's perspective what their thoughts are on that series and that game in particular.
yeah. Yeah. So Sage is also getting it, so he'll be playing it there as well. And he'll probably do a review for it. So I don't know if you're not gonna be playing the remake, so
Not at the moment, no. But
yeah, so but I was gonna say if you want to come on there for that, but I know you want to kind of come on for some more video game reviews and things like that.
right.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'd be happy to do that. I actually have been playing a game that Shadow dropped a couple days ago. On the PlayStation Network, Ubisoft released The Rogue Prince of Persia. It's a roguelike game set in the Prince of Persia universe. It's developed by the same development team that did Dead Cells, and it's been in various forms of early access for the past year or so. And they finally released a version 1.0, and it is quite something. I'm a big fan of the Prince of Persia series in general, and this kind of combines the 2D Prince of Persia games with Hades, as far as the roguelike elements go, and it's a really solid action roguelike game. I've been having quite a bit of fun with it.
Okay. It's pretty nice cinematic right here. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it definitely, definitely has sort of the Hades touch to it in terms of its art style and presentation, but it's got a lot of really cool ideas with its gameplay and platform mechanics that are quite interesting.
Mm. And didn't they have like two Prince of Persia games come out like in the same year before? Or
Yeah, so there hasn't been a big budget Prince of Persia game in a long time, but the last time they did, they had a reboot of the Sand of Time trilogy in 2008 with a game just called Prince of Persia. And then a year and a half later was when the Jake Gyllenhaal movie came out, and they had Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands, which is sort of like a midquel in the Sands of Time universe. So it was kind of confusing just because you did this big series reboot, and then a year and a half later we have this midquel game. So it just kind of was like, what are we doing here?
mm, yeah. So I'll be interested to hear your thoughts on that. Looks good. So when is it a release?
It released Thursday. It
Oh,
shadow
it's
dropped
already
on
out.
it shadow dropped on the PlayStation Network, and I've been playing it since Friday.
How much was it?
It was free on the PlayStation Network, but if you don't have the subscription, it's $30, I believe. And I think it's a well worth the $30 price tag.
Mm, okay. Yeah. I mean, I have that. Like that's like the PlayStation Plus thing, kind of like Game Pass. If you have
Exactly.
so if you have that, it's free. Okay, but if you don't, it's $30. Okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, they've been doing a lot better about like getting actually interesting like indie or lower budget games on the service for free just to compete with Microsoft's whole strategy. And this I think is a really good one to have.
Nice. All right. I'd be yeah, I'd love to have you on for that.
Yeah.
Future streams, no stream Monday there with Sage just because I don't really have anything there that we could do. We already talked about Gamescom, all the trailers, everything like that. We already did that already. Um yeah, so next Monday probably going to come back with some reviews. He's trying to see if he can get his console fixed. It broke down. So he's trying to see if he can get that fixed so he can play some games there and do some more reviews.
That's too
Um,
bad. That's too
yeah.
bad.
So he's having a friend look at it, see if they can fix it there. Bad time to be getting a new PS5 right now. They just raised the prices. Uh,
Oh
so
boy. Literally the only time in history where console prices have gone up as time has gone on. And, I understand there's a lot of world stuff going on right now that's affecting that, but still, what a time where like console prices actually increase as time goes on.
yeah, so all those prices going up for every console, the PlayStation and Switch 2, the Xbox, everything
Hmm.
increasing. Mm. But in China, if you get it directly from China, it's lower price, I guess. If you get it directly from them, it's a lower price. Yeah.
That's so weird. Like why would that affect the price? Like it being in China?
I guess because it's, I mean, mostly it's manufactured, right? Mostly, I guess some of the hardware there is manufactured in China. I guess they
Oh,
can dictate where it's kind of being sold there. But
that makes
um,
sense.
yeah, so yeah, kind of that going on. But
Oh, one thing about Gamescom is just I just can't believe we live in a world where Hollow Knight Silk Song is a real game that exists that is going to come out soon.
oh
Like,
yeah, I know they came out in Gamescom. We didn't talk about it, but I know a lot of people were excited for it. Some good amount of people were. What's the release date for that?
I think it's September 4th, so a week from either Thursday or Friday. But I've never played the original Hollow Knight. My best friend Juan ended up playing it years and years ago, and he really liked it. But I'm just still flabbergasted how long this took to make, and it's just I'm glad it's out, but boy, it took a long time.
Mm, yeah. Okay. There was some game. Any game trailers that you were excited for? Gamescom there that you were like, oh, that looks exciting.
Um, Not that I can. Lego Batman, Legacy of the Dark Knight really caught my attention. I'm a bit of a cheap date when it comes to Batman. I'm kind of like anything the character's in, but I really like the direction they're going with this, where it's more of an open world kind of Lego Batman game, and they're doing an original story, even though there's tons of movie and game and TV show references all over the place. And it's just been a while since we've had a really solid Batman game that's just single player and story focused, and I'm quite interested in it. Even though it's not like the Arkham Knight style of game, I still really think this looks cool.
Yeah. I can't wait for this. I'm really hyped for this. I've never been hyped for a Lego game before, but like I said, I'm a sucker for Batman, and it seems like they're just doing kind of like a little bit like the Lego Batman movie, but putting into video game form with the references and the history of Batman and all that. I think they say like there's going to be over 100 Batman costumes in it, so that's pretty
I
nice.
I believe it. I mean, there's so many comic one-off costumes you can have, and so many movie. They probably have a costume for every movie that's a reference somewhere in there. So I believe it.
Yeah. There was one Batman seems like they didn't really reference was the Ben Affleck Batman.
Oh,
Yeah, they didn't really reference that, but they referenced Robert Pattinson. Seems like they got that one. They got some other Batman. I think they showed the Michael Keaton. They show the soundtrack. They played the soundtrack from the Batman, Michael Keaton, Danny Elfman Batman film. But yeah, it seems like they referenced a lot of the other ones except for Ben Affleck one. But
I think their justification was they wanted this be like a Batman solo game, and once you start crossing over with Batman versus Superman, that kind of muddies the water. So, I can understand that. I do want to see, I'm not a huge fan of the Joel Schumacher Batman movies, but I do want to see, a Bat credit card, or, some Bat nipple suits or something like that. Just to throw some references that way too.
yeah. Well, they did say the playable characters you can play as like some of the Bat family. I think Batgirl and Robin, and uh, even though she's not a part of the Bat, well, I guess you could say she's somewhat associated because you have Talia al Ghul, who's the
Hmm.
baby mama of Bruce Wayne. So she's you know mother of Damian Wayne, and Damian Wayne's part of the Bat family. So I guess you could say she's sort of kind of connected to it.
By
Um,
connection, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I can't wait for that one. I was excited for that one. I was excited for Silent Hill F. We saw some more stuff from that, more footage from that.
Hmm.
That looked really good. That looks also very intense and very scary.
Hmm.
Onimusha looked really good. There was Sword of Legends, which looked really good. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Onimusha took me by surprise because I had never played an Onimusha game, and it looked cool in its own right. I always like seeing the Outer Worlds too. I know that's coming out later this year, and I was very surprised when I played the original Outer Worlds. I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed it, and I'm just really happy to see Obsidian Studios doing a sequel to that game, because I always felt the Obsidian Fallout games were more enjoyable to me than the Bethesda ones. So just seeing them strike on their own, doing stuff like Outer Worlds, is always great to see.
Mm, nice. Um, yeah, but the next big game is out right now, so it's going to be Metal Gear. Then it's going to be Chronos: The New Dawn. Those are the big games, and after that, Silent Hill F. So that's coming out. Those things kind of back to back. So those are the bigger games releasing there. Um,
Neat.
have you already pre-ordered anything? Do you pre-order stuff or?
I don't typically pre-order stuff, but the two games I'm most looking forward to so far this year is the remake of Final Fantasy Tactics, the Ivalice Chronicles, and Ghost of Yotei. I thought the
Ah,
original, yeah, I'm really interested to see how they improve on Ghost of Tsushima, because I thought Ghost of Tsushima was a pretty good game, but I thought it could have some improvements. But Yotei looks like it's taking the framework of Tsushima and just really going out of their way to improve it with the combat, with more variety and things of that nature. And I always like samurai stuff, and as long as it's a good samurai story, I more than likely will really enjoy it.
yeah, yeah. This is October, right? October, I think.
It
Mm,
is, yeah.
nice. All right. So that's future streams got coming up there. Oh, Friday. I forgot to mention that Friday. Hopefully Nick and Dust can join me. Not really any big movies coming out. There's the new Darren Aronofsky movie, Caught Stealing. There's that.
Hmm.
Then there's that movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman, The
The
Roses.
roses, yeah.
There's that. I'll try to see both of those. Also, there's that movie with Dakota Johnson called Splitsville. I'll probably see it the weekend. So I won't see it in time for the review, but I'll see it probably. I'll watch it Friday or Saturday, Sunday. I'll watch Splitsville. But I hear it's good. I hear Splitsville's pretty good there. Have you heard
Okay.
about that movie?
I have not. I don't know if it's just I haven't watched the right trailers or something like that, but I didn't even know Dakota Johnson was in a movie coming up.
Yeah. Dakota Johnson, it's like about these two married people, and one of the married couples is they do an open relationship, and the other married couple is having troubles there, and it's like a lot of chaos ensues there. But yeah, and this is the married couple with the problems there. And
I
that
see.
actress's name, I forgot her name, but she was in Rogue One. She was in that.
Oh yeah, she's Bix in wait, is it Rogue One or Andor? I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, yeah, Andor. I'm sorry, yeah, Andor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's Bix in Andor. I recognize her from there.
yeah. That's people's fan cast for Wonder Woman. A lot of people want her to be Wonder Woman.
I think she
Adria Ardrana.
hmm. I think she would be pretty good as Wonder Woman. She seems like a talented actress. So yeah, go for it.
I mean, anything's a step up from Gal Gadot, I guess.
Boy,
Um,
speaking of worst movies of the year so far, we got some thoughts on that.
yeah. And she's already dating Aquaman, so she's already you know, already related there to the crew. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Lobo and potentially Aquawoman, Lobo and potentially Wonder Woman dating. That's something else.
yeah. So there you go. All right, let's get into these lists there. I'll pull up your list. I'll pull up my list.
All right,
So your list is much shorter than mine here.
right,
Uh, so yeah, we'll just go back and forth there. I'll let you go first.
okay,
Yeah. So um, this year in film, we already did a best of list there. Neil gave his list. That's already on YouTube already, youtube.com, the afternoon tune. If you just want to type that in, I gave my list. Neil gave his list of best movies of 2025 so far. Enjoyed talking about it. Enjoyed talking about a lot of good film that came out this year. But of course, as always, sometimes you got to get a little bit negative with some kind of bad movies that we saw this year. So I'll let Neil go. Neil, what is your first movie there, or just what are you throwing out there first for your worst movie of 2025 so far?
all right. Well, my first movie is more of a disappointment than an outright terrible movie. Bong Joon-ho is one of my favorite directors, and I'm sure he's a lot of people's favorite directors. And he came out with his movie Mickey 17, starring Robert Pattinson and Mark Ruffalo and Toni Collette and tons of other people earlier this year. And I was very excited about this movie just because he's such a great and creative filmmaker. But this unfortunately just really disappointed me. It's more it has great ideas for 4 or 5 movies, but when you try to combine all these ideas together into one 2.5-hour movie, it just ends up being sloppy. The story just doesn't really add up as much as it can, and too many ideas and thoughts just felt very underdeveloped. And it's unfortunate because what is good in this movie is downright terrific. And if he had focused on the things that really worked, this would have been great. But as it is, it's too scatterbrained, it's too unfocused, and it's too undercooked for me to really recommend or enjoy. So unfortunately, it's just a very disappointing movie.
Mm. This was on my best of early on. It's off my best of now because there's just some other movies that came on and it knocked it out of it. Yeah, Bong Joon-ho we talked about a little bit when I discussed it on my best of list there. Not his best entry, especially coming off of the highly hyped and considered one of the best movies of the 21st century, Parasite. So this is
Right.
his first movie after that. So it's certainly a disappointment there, I think. And this is also Mickey 17 is based on a novel. And then when I reviewed it with Dust, he had actually read the novel and he said, well, the novel really gets more into the cloning process and the morality of that, which this movie doesn't really touch on as much, really, and the whole morality of that. Yeah.
That was the part that fascinated me the most, just the idea of what really happens when you have two people that are identical in the same environment. Like, and what happens when like one starts to fall in love with someone different than the original partner, and how does that affect, work life on the colony and stuff like that. I thought all that was potentially great, but then, you know, 3 or 4 movies worth of ideas come in and kind of shove that out of the picture, unfortunately. I would be interested in this novel though, because I think the core concept is so interesting that I feel like the novel might adapt that kind of theme better than this movie did.
Mm, yeah. I don't know. I think maybe it deserves another crack at an adaptation. Maybe if you did like a TV show, I think maybe that would fit it better to really get into those themes and everything. But I see people's reason why they don't like it. I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and to be fair, this isn't Mickey 17, I don't think is a terrible movie or anything like that. It's just disappointing given the caliber of the talent involved. And you know, for Bong Joon-ho's next movie, I'm going to be there day one. So this isn't, you know, a crack at the guy or anything like that. It's just this movie right here didn't work for me.
Yeah. I think he does have something else coming out pretty soon. I'm trying to think what it is, but I think he was planning on coming out with something. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll definitely be there for anything Bong Joon-ho does. There, I am a fan of his work.
I mean, for better or worse, you will never see anything else quite like his work. So, if nothing else, for the variety and artistry of it, it's worth a gander.
Yeah. All right. So that was your pick there from one of your picks of worst movies of 2025. I'm going to do one of mine.
All right.
One of my films there on my list of worst movies of 2025 so far is going to be a Minecraft movie. A Minecraft movie here. This was from the director of Napoleon Dynamite there. Starred Jack Black, starred Jason Momoa. And yeah, I was not a fan of this movie at all. None of the crew were a fan of this movie, but hugely successful. This movie made close to almost $1 billion, so it was very hugely successful. I don't really get it, but I don't get a lot of majorly successful movies sometimes. But yeah, I mean, so it takes you into the world of Minecraft. I don't play the video game, so I don't really have any connection there, video game wise, to it. So that's not one of the reasons I hate it. I just think it's just lazy in terms of its storytelling and world building there. Not very funny. I think it's Jack Black at his absolute worst of like him just trying to like just do much Jack Black things as he can to make up for the lack of the funny in the script. Then you got the Jason Momoa role there, who it feels like he's playing a character out of Adam Sandler's Pixels, and he's pretty bad there. So yeah, just all around, I just was like, yeah, this is just I was like, this is just pretty bad. Yeah, so
I gotta
and
be I gotta be honest. I only saw the first 30 minutes of this movie on HBO Max, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I mean, I didn't put it on my list just because I didn't actually see the movie, but I completely see where you're coming from on everything.
and then they did that whole chicken jockey shit and people in theaters and that. Um, yeah, so that I didn't experience that. I saw the movie way later after the movie had already been in theaters for a week or two, so I didn't really experience any of that. But that was annoying as hell. You see a good positive theater reaction with people doing with K-pop Demon Hunters, where people are going and singing along and all that stuff like that. Like it's a more positive theater experience there that you can have in a movie. I think that exemplifies that. Yeah. So what is next on your list there, Neil?
Okay. Comic book movies are kind of in a bit of a recovery mode right now, and thankfully, stuff like Superman has come along and like kind of re-energized the subgenre. But we did not get off to a great start this year with Captain America: Brave New World. The Captain America movies are my favorite subgenre within the MCU. They're all three of those original Captain America movies are my favorite outside of the big Avenger crossover movies. And this one was just not good. It sells itself as being a political thriller, but once you actually start seeing the movie, it has nothing interesting to say about its politics and is borderline afraid to say anything that might be deemed controversial, which is just very, very, cowardly, quite honestly, and quite boring. Another big problem is that Sam Wilson as a character just feels woefully underdeveloped and underrealized in his own movie. It's a recipe for a movie that seems like it doesn't know what it wants to be, and what it wants to be is very uninteresting and not and cowardly at the same time. Yeah, this movie is just not good. Not the worst MCU movie I've ever seen, but one that definitely wastes the most potential and feels like the biggest waste of time, at least to me.
Yeah, we reviewed this. We did a spoiler review of it up on the site. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I just thought it was mid. It's the definition of mid, being mediocre. Like you mentioned, the political stuff kind of going on here. There's so much trouble with this movie just from a production level, following up the reshoots of it. And reshoots are normal for any movie, but just it
Right.
seemed like they were, even while Upland was still it was releasing, they were still doing it and rewriting things. And there's whole portions of characters that are not in this movie, characters that were on the set, people like Seth Rollins, and there was a whole storyline with him and I forgot the villain Serpent Society or something like that. The villains that were in.
Right.
There was that aspect that they had to rewrite, and then it's also the Marvel thing. When you watch the trailer, there's so many scenes in the trailer that aren't in the movie themselves, and it's a shame. I think Anthony Mackie, he's a great star. I think that he's the one thing to like about the movie is Sam Wilson. I think they just kind of restricted his ability there to be this charismatic star in that, and I think everything else around him kind of fails him in this movie. Uh,
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate because you're right. Anthony Mackie is a great actor. He's been in, several dramatic roles where he's shown that he can really kind of, up his game and everything. But then you get him in Brave New World and he just feels like they're afraid to let his character be his own unique voice and personality. And it's just, when your main character is just that under realized, it just feels like it doesn't feel like a movie that's worth your time or effort. And it's just, it's a disappointing movie, but it's also a pretty bad movie. At least to me, it is.
Yeah. And the whole journey with him, I mean, this is also the thing, like, of him having imposter syndrome of, can I be Captain America? I mean, that was already solved in the TV show. So now that you're doing a movie, it's like you can't really repeat that again. And then for people who may have not seen the movie, the show, it's like, wait, why? I mean, okay, so he's already Captain America again. Like, I mean, you also have to do the thing like people who don't watch the show and then only watch the movies and all that, and you have to catch people up there. And
Mhm.
yeah,
The one positive thing I will say is I think the actor that plays Isaiah Washington, who in the movie he's framed for a crime because of, and because of Marvel reasons and stuff, but that actor I thought did a very good job. I liked his character of being, a test subject of the super soldier serum and him
Carl Lumley. Yeah.
being, yeah, that actor I thought did a very good job in what little screen time he had. And I wish the movie around him was worthy of his talents, but you know, if nothing else, he is a bright spot and easily the best performing actor in the movie to me.
Yeah, he's also really good. Yeah, Carl Lumley. He's a good veteran actor there. He was great in the show.
He
And the way
was.
they again, it's for people who, I mean, if you didn't watch the show and you see in the movie that his first scene is, oh, this is Isaiah Bradley, and this man was captured and behind the scene. He was falsely in prison, and he was experimented on for 30 years. Like they detail his whole thing in like this quick little scene. It's like, oh, okay. I mean, so that was a little rough. There was lots of moment like that, but yeah.
Yeah.
This disappointing there, and it's a shame Kevin Feige kind of threw him under the bus, Anthony Mackie, of like, well, I think the reason it failed because we didn't have Steve Rogers in it, and I think that was kind of throwing Anthony Mackie under the bus a little bit.
That's a really crappy thing to do because like it's the Marvel machine movie, Kevin. Like let Anthony Mackie be a character. Like don't be like Steve Rogers is a fully developed character, on screen. Let Anthony Mackie do the same.
Yeah, so I thought that was a shame there.
It is.
All right, so Brave New World was your next one there, and then I'll throw my next one out here. All right. Um, Much like with these movies there, yeah, Disney, these live action remakes, they've been a problem for several years now, and they're still continuing to be a problem there. But it looks like we're gonna get more of them, even though this one bombed horribly, Snow White. There was Lilo and Stitch that came out that made over $1 billion. So we're gonna keep getting these live action remakes because you people keep seeing them. So anytime people ask, like, man, why can we keep getting these live action remakes? Because you keep fucking seeing them. Okay. Lilo and Stitch, Lion King make $1 billion. That's kind of the reason why. Snow White is again on the list of terrible Disney live action remakes there. In terms of trying to adapt a classic story. No, I don't hate this movie because it has Rachel Ziegler in it. And her being actually, she's one of the bright spots in the movie. They get somebody like Rachel Ziegler who has a great voice. If you saw her in West Side Story, she's very great in that. I loved her in West Side Story. She's kind of one of the very few bright things about this. It's just everything. It's like much like Brave New World. Everything else around her is very poor, and it kind of fails her. When it comes to the villain, I mean, Gal Gadot, who's absolutely terrible. I know people make fun of her acting there. I know she recently blamed the failure of this movie on the fact that it's pro-Palestinian activists. I think she blamed it on, or people don't like people from Israel. I don't think that was it at all. And you know, as mediocre and terrible this movie is, I think one of the primary reasons why it failed, and me and Nick have discussed this already before, and much of the other crew of the Afternoon Tune, is that it seems like with these live action remakes is if it's something more for millennials, like you see the trend, that's going to do well. So if it's something that connects to that core of the fandom, like look at Lilo and Stitch, look at Lion King, look at Beauty and the Beast, all those movies I think made over $1 billion. So that's kind of like more of the older classic Disney stuff usually tends to flop. Snow White, Dumbo, Pinocchio, you know, a lot of those movies tend to just not do very well there. So I think that's kind of what it is there. But yeah, this was really, really bad. Felt like kind of I'd say even a TV production might be even kind of underselling it a little bit. What were your thoughts there?
This was actually the next movie I was going to talk about, so we might as well just hop onto it. But this movie is one of the strangest movies I've seen in a long time because it's a musical, but it feels totally lifeless. What you said about a TV production is extremely accurate because as a musical movie, all the songs and choreography just feel dead on arrival. It feels like nobody wants to be doing these songs, and what songs are there just feel very hollow and, you know, just pointless. You are absolutely right about Rachel Ziegler being the only good thing about this movie because she is just a ray of sunshine in this dreary movie. You know, it just Gal Gadot, you already mentioned her, but was she always this bad of an actress? Because like it feels like it's getting worse over time, and it's just astounding to see. But yeah, the biggest problem with this movie is just the fact that it feels like a limp fish. Like it feels totally dead on the shore with no sense of energy or life or presence or point to it. And yeah, it's one of the strangest movies I've seen in a while just because it feels so dead on arrival and so pointless from minute one.
Yeah. So it just was disappointing. It feels so like small scale, like everything, like this little town, and when she goes off to the woods and everything, like it just feels so kind of small scale and yeah, not very interesting.
You were talking about production problems in Captain America, but I also kind of felt like you could see the production problem seams in this movie too, because you know, like the main love interest, the thief guy that gets captured at the beginning, he has a merry band of like thieves in the movie, and they do nothing. So you have like a group of 6 characters who are only there for background dressing, essentially, except for one guy who's the master of the crossbow. And then you have the dwarves who are just kind of bumbling around and bumping into things the entire time. And it just makes you think like were these thief characters supposed to have a bigger role than they originally were, or like there's just a lot of things in this movie that feel like production problems just getting in the way of making a good movie.
Mhm. Yeah. So since you already did you want to go into another one, or do you want me to move on to my next one there?
I'll move on to my next one.
Okay.
This next one is it was a very limited release movie. It barely made any money in the box office, and this is Fight or Flight, starring Josh Hartnett, and it's a action comedy movie that came out earlier this year. It didn't really get a big marketing push, and it's an action comedy, but just doesn't really it never really fires on all cylinders. It feels like a movie that just is trying to be a Bullet Train or a goofier take on John Wick or something along those lines, and it just never really feels like it's comfortable in his own skin. Josh Hartnett is entertaining enough in his lead role, and the main actress is Charindra Chandran, who is on Bridgerton, and she's all right, but as the movie goes on, it just never really feels like it comes together, and it just it never really accomplishes its goal of being either funny or action packed, and it was kind of lousy at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying about Bullet Train there. We compared it to that when we reviewed it. I had fun with it. I liked it. I liked Josh Hartnett's performance in it. When it wasn't on him in the plane, I think that was when it was the worst, when it was like his superiors and Katie Sackhoff
Right.
and the other people in the office and all that. I was like, this is where it's the worst. And I don't think Katie Sackhoff is a bad actress. I just think the material she was given was just pretty poor.
Well, it's
Anytime they
funny.
do that, yeah.
Well, what's funny is that the beginning of the movie, he's hanging out in Bangkok, and my wife used to live in Bangkok, and she was like, "You can tell this was filmed in middle of nowhere Europe and everything because of the set dressing and everything." But yeah, it just you're right that the material is just not very good or compelling, and it just and the action scenes just aren't good enough to elevate kind of lackluster acting and material, unfortunately.
Mm, yeah. But I thought when it wasn't on them and it was actually the plane. Actually, I think I had more fun with it than actually Bullet Train. I think, because I think Bullet Train was too much like, oh, this actor and this actor. Let's get this revolving, because like with the assassin stuff, it's always like we can get a revolving number of cameos in here of
Right.
actors to come in. And so I actually may have had a little bit more fun with it in Fight or Flight than in Bullet Train. But okay, I see your point about Fight or Flight, though. I see your point, though.
Fair enough. And I'm if nothing else, I'm glad you enjoyed it more than I did.
Yeah. All right. So I'm moving on to my next pick here. We've seen a track record, many, musicians get into movies there. We've had some great successes there. We've had Janelle Monáe, for example, there, who's been very successful at it. But then there's always a case where musicians, they get into movies and it turns out like Madonna. Or it turns out like The Weeknd would Hurry Up Tomorrow. This is his vanity project, I guess you would say, in a sense. This was a movie leading up because he had an album release, and then to coincide with the album release of his new album called Hurry Up Tomorrow, he also released a movie of the same name, where he's a titular character. He's playing himself. And yeah, and this is totally like when I mentioned vanity project. It is in that in kind of every way. Was very heavily self-indulgent about him playing himself, and he has Barry Keoghan, who's his manager, and he's constantly telling them like, "You're so amazing, you're so great, like you inspire these people, and these people all came to see you, and you're so terrific." And then you have Jenna Ortega in it, who becomes like, well, I guess she was maybe already a fan, but then she becomes like a super fan of his when they hang out for one day, and then she like goes all Kathy Bates from Misery on him, ties them up. Then all of a sudden there's a scene where she starts like playing his songs back to him and like detailing all the thematic meaning of his songs. This is, yeah, I mean, it's just a complete, and then for it to be at the end where it was all in his head, it wasn't really real, and I'm like, oh my god, you got to be fucking kidding me. And The Weeknd, it's just he was in the Idol, and I didn't like him in that. I thought he's pretty bad in that. And I thought maybe because the bad performance in the Idol was just because like, well, this is a more demanding role that maybe you're just not ready for. Like maybe you gotta look at like a guy like Justin Timberlake. Like he did a lot of supporting roles before he became like a lead actor in a movie, and I think maybe that's what he should have done. But I just don't think it's like I just don't think The Weeknd's a very good actor. Great singer, great musician, but I just don't think he's a very good actor. Yeah.
I gotta be honest. You telling me that the ending of this movie is that it was all a dream makes me want to put it on my list, even though I didn't see this movie. Yeah, I'm totally with you on The Weeknd as an actor. I didn't see the entirety of The Idol, but what I did see of it, he is just not a good actor. I'm sorry, but this is one of those things where it's like stay in your lane, got stay in your lane and just like be a musician because I like several Weekend songs and I like a lot his like sort of dark atmospheric EDM thing he's got going on. But yeah, this movie just looked quite bad, honestly, from the trailers. And yeah, Vanity Project is what I kept thinking of the every time I saw this movie. Just the fact that he's playing himself, and there's this whole like meta thing about like the artist trying to understand the art he makes and things like that. It just very self-indulgent is what this whole thing seemed like.
Yeah. So that's one of my other picks there. What about you there, Neil? What you got?
All right, my next pick, Amazon. This is a Amazon straight to streaming movie based on a little known novel you might have heard of called War of the Worlds. They did a new version of it in 2025, starring Ice Cube as a NSA type officer and who sees the tripod invasion go down from a computer screen, and it's about the chaos that ensues from that whole situation. Um, the kindest way I can describe this movie is amateur hour. This whole thing just feels like a student project that just got a budget somehow. The whole thing just feels like woefully incapable of trying to tell the story it wants to tell. And when it does tell the story it wants to tell, it's shockingly amateurish and underbaked. Um, Ice Cube, I'm gonna lump him in the Weekend School of Acting, where he is a good musician, but I'm not really convinced outside of Friday he's a great actor. And this movie just feels like, like I said, amateur hour. And I literally cannot believe this made it to screens in any capacity. I'm like legitimately shocked that this movie came out as is. It's that bad.
Well, I mean, I had Naked Gun as the funniest movie of the year, but this may be the funniest movie of the year, War of the Worlds. I had a good time, man. It was hysterical to watch, just to see what was kind of happening in it. I mean, I gave it the best waste of film we've ever given it. I was like, man, I don't even hate it. I just was like, this is kind of enjoyable waste of film, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you that. I mean, it's kind of in the same school of entertainment as The Room and Birdemic and Samurai Cop and things like that, where you just are astounded that people, made, took effort to make this into a movie. I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't regret my time watching it, but as a movie, terrible. There's just no other way around it. And the one thing I will say about the story of the movie is the whole premise of the movie is that the tripods come down, and the twist this time is they're eating our data, like the data that's stored on like Google Cloud and Amazon Cloud and that sort of thing. And somehow Ice Cube, who is playing an NSA officer, is shocked that the US government is doing shady things with personal data. And, I just look at that scene where he's like realizing what's going on and just think, we live in a post NSA, post Patriot Act world. And in 2025, you're going to act brand new and be shocked that the US government is doing shady stuff with personal data. What is happening here?
Yeah. And this could work because we talked about it. Like there were movies like Missing and Searching that were compelling and very interesting. And you had good actors. You had John Cho who did really great. Um, I don't know if that maybe worked better because it was smaller scale. It was only just about a missing person, not like the end of the world,
Mhm.
and all that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say a more modern interpretation of War of the Worlds would just be Cloverfield. I guess that would just be kind of it. Yeah.
Those two very valid points. I did greatly enjoy Searching, and I think you're right. The smaller scale definitely helped that movie. And I just, and in Searching, I just thought the smaller scale helped the characters develop and act more naturally than in this one, where when you have people on, computer screens like, oh, look, here's an alien, look out. Like, it's not the same, it's really hard to sell that sell an alien invasion when you can't see any of the alien invasion happening in front of you outside of the computer screen you're on. So you're definitely right about that.
Yeah. But we're gonna talk more about it in a little bit on there. But I'll move on to my list there. My next pick. So Neil,
Yeah.
did you know that I Know What You Did Last Summer? Did you know that?
No, I don't know what you did last summer. What did you do last summer?
Apparently watch this shitty movie is what I did there. So that's kind of what I got going on here. With I Know What You Did Last Summer, which is the latest line of requels, reboots, whatever they're calling it now these days. It's kind of doing the Scream thing, kind of did the Naked Gun thing of like, we're going to do a sequel, but we're going to name it the same thing as the first movie, but just update it with the year. And you have the same kind of situation here, where instead of like teenagers, these are more like early 20 somethings there, early to mid 20 somethings who they fucked up. Except in this movie, like, in the first I Know What You Did Last Summer, it was kind of mainly their fault what they did. And they were, drunk and they saw a person, they swerved and it caused the person to swerve there and all that stuff. You could say it was mainly their fault what they did and caused that person that kind of situation. This one, it's not really the same thing. Like they kind of avoid that a little bit, and it's kind of more of a clumsy kind of way. And I think that is, first of all, detrimental to the story you're telling there with this. And also, it's just kind of a very lame slasher kind of thriller there. The characters aren't very interesting. They do the thing like many requels do, where they bring back some of the original cast. They bring back Jennifer Love Hewitt. They bring back Freddie Prinze Jr. There's also another surprise cameo that comes in that actually is one of the best parts of the movie. And then also, they seems like I didn't stay for the end of it. I only know this because I watched a review of it later, but they also bring back, there's like a stinger at the end. They bring back another person. And so I guess they're thinking like, oh, maybe we're going to get a sequel. You're not going to get a sequel. I don't think you're going to get a sequel to this. But it's just kind of lame and flat and not very interesting. And also, I mean, I Know What You Did Last Summer, even I think the first movie wasn't even all that great. So to kind of continue it is like, I mean, it's not like Scream, where I think you have something to build on Scream, where Scream's a meta commentary on horror movies. So you can always update it to match what's going on in horror movies today. And I don't think Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer has that.
Yeah, the original I Know What You Did Last Summer is not a particularly good movie. I agree with you. And I'm not really surprised to hear this about the new one, just because, like you said, as opposed to something like Scream or even Halloween or, those kind of eternal franchises, there's not much of a framework to sort of build lore around. And, when you say, oh, they kind of mitigated the responsibility of the parties in this one, I think you're right. That just seems like it makes it a much less interesting movie because, say what you will about the original one, but at least the idea that they were responsible for what happened kind of makes it a bit more interesting, since there's a bit of moral ambiguity and a bit of like, well, maybe they had it coming, but to see it go down like this is just, I agree, just not very interesting.
Yeah. My next pick there for on my list there. We talk about disappointments. You were very disappointed by Mickey 17 there. I think for the most part this year, all the movies I was looking forward to turned out to be very good. Weapons, Sinners, those movies, I was heavily looking forward to them, and they really paid off, and I really liked them a lot. I even liked them more than I thought I would. But there was one movie that came out earlier this year that I was kind of looking forward to that really disappointed me. And that was Love Hurts with Ke Huy Quan in it. And in this movie, Ke Huy Quan wearing the Quanaissance. Ke Huy Quan coming, everybody's happy. He won an Oscar, Academy Award winner now, Ke Huy Quan. He came back and did Everything Everywhere All at Once. And everybody was like, okay, we're on the Ke Huy Quan train and we love this guy. We want to see him and everything. And this was okay. I was like, okay, a cool action movie with him starring in it. This is exciting. But it's just incredibly disappointing and a mess. You have this story of him being this former assassin, but yet he's a real estate agent where his face is everywhere. So if he's running away from being this life of being a former assassin, why plastered his face everywhere. There's a love story with him and Ariana DeBose that does not work at all. Like they have no chemistry whatsoever. Like I do not buy them as a couple whatsoever. And Ariana DeBose, it's like her and Rachel Ziegler. It's like after West Side Story, it's like, damn, who can have the worst movie? Like they just have not had any luck post West Side Story. And Ariana DeBose, I like Ariana DeBose. I think Ariana DeBose is very good. I think I loved when she won for her Oscar for West Side Story. But ever since then, it's like Craven.
Oh boy.
She was in that. She was in Argyle. So she's just been on a streak of like just bad ones. Like there, even that Disney movie, which it wasn't terrible, but it was kind of just so basic. A Wish. Like I was like,
okay.
She was in that one. So yeah, I was like, okay, it continues again with Love Hurts, and so yeah, it's just not just been good. But yeah, this was just, I mean, some of the choreography is kind of cool, some of the action stuff, but other than that, I was just like, yeah. And this is a short movie. It's not like an hour and 20 something minutes. And
Whoa.
it felt longer than what it was. It felt like it was 2 hours because it just dragged and it was trying to cobble stuff together. But yeah, I was very disappointed by this.
Yeah, I've heard nothing good about this movie, and I'm when it comes to action movies, as long as you give me good choreography, I usually will give you some points to it. But yeah, it just doesn't really seem like anything outside of maybe a couple halfway decent fight scenes is really worth it. And when you're talking about Ariana DeBose versus Rachel Ziegler, at least people saw Snow White, so I guess Ariana has to get the L on that end because like nobody saw Craven or Argyle. At least a couple people saw Snow White, but yeah, it's disappointing to see her career kind of be dominated by these just junk movies. And yeah, I would hope that she and her managers try to figure out what makes a script work more before signing on to it. Cause like, she doesn't need to be in stuff like Craven or Argyle or this moving forward.
Yeah, she needs definitely a better agent and to, I don't know, do a better job of picking some of these scripts because it has not been working out.
Yeah.
Next on my list is this is a TV movie, straight to streaming film here. Now I've dropped out of it. I haven't been keeping up with what's been happening in latest Star Trek kind of stuff going on. I watched maybe one season of Discovery, and that was kind of it. And I thought it was all right. I just haven't kept up with it. I know they got a lot of other stuff going on, but this is, I guess you could say, somewhat of a spinoff. I guess you could say of that, where you have Star Trek Section 31, where I do remember Michelle Yeoh's character from Discovery. So this is about her character there, and she's forming a team there to take on. So it's like 99% Hitler of Michelle Yeoh is taking on 100% Hitler because her character is a tyrannical dictator who from another universe who switched to the mainline universe. And then one of the people from her universe is a character there that she had to beat out to be the tyrannical dictator of that universe, but now he's back and he wants to destroy the universe that she jumped to. So they have to team up with this genocidal dictator to stop another genocidal dictator. And then this is, yeah, so that's kind of what's going on here. And this was before, like, Star Trek Discovery got Michelle Yeoh before the Michelle Yeoh, the Yeoh-assance, Yeoh-assance, because Everything Everywhere All at Once there. But I think they got her before all that. Now you see Michelle Yeoh in almost a lot of stuff. You see her kind of everywhere there. Yeah, this is, I mean, I will say, even though this movie's bad, she's one of the best things about it. She's very charismatic and she's having a lot of fun playing this role. You can tell that. But the whole crew that she's with is not very interesting or annoying there. The kind of, also the concept of it, of like, I don't watch a lot of Star Trek, but I had people on with it to review who are big Star Trek fans. And they were talking about the concept because it's like the Section 31 is kind of like a CIA Black Ops type team, which is very antithetical to the viewpoints of Starfleet. And what this kind of team kind of does is like, well, we do the Section 31 is supposed to do the 30 things that Starfleet won't do. And that's kind of what it's supposed to represent. But that's kind of very much not like what Starfleet is supposed to do or supposed to stand for. So it's even that the fact that this even exists is kind of like maybe not good for Star Trek. But it's just, I mean, if you're trying to make this type of like Suicide Squad type Star Trek movie, it doesn't work at all, and it's pretty bad there.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I have no frame of reference for anything related to Star Trek, but that premise you described sounds crazy. Like how, like this idea that this character would be motivated to do this thing in this universe just sounds quite crazy to me. And yeah, I kept thinking of Suicide, like David Ayer's Suicide Squad, every time I saw a trailer for this. And again, as someone who has no frame of reference for Star Trek, this whole concept just seems so bizarre for the world of Star Trek, and so it just makes me wonder what in the world Paramount is doing with this franchise. It seems totally directionless and totally just doesn't really seem like they understand the material at this point. And I hope for Star Trek's sake they find people that get the material in the universe better in the future.
Yeah, I hear from people that do review newer Star Trek. Lower Decks is pretty good, from my understanding. I think that's the animated series that they do.
Right.
I think what's his name? Jack Quaid is in it. I think he's in it. Yeah, I hear it's good. I hear that's all right. I hear some of the seasons of STD, unfortunate acronym there. That's pretty decent. So, but I don't keep up with a lot of the modern Star Trek stuff there. I haven't even seen the old Star Trek stuff like that. I've only seen the movies. So that's about it. So that's on my list. Almost done here. So I got 2 more movies left. The next one on my list here is going to be for a video game adaptation that came out this year of the popular video game Until Dawn. Here, so we have Until Dawn the movie. So I haven't played Until Dawn, but I know about the story of the game. I know kind of it's a choose your own adventure type thing that came out, I think, around 2015. And it kind of blew up in popularity, especially people who were playing it. It's a very good game to play on streaming, Twitch, and everything like that. People were playing it, and you get to have the chat, make decisions. They can vote on it, so that's also an interesting aspect of it. But with the video game, it was kind of very much like Scream, where it was a meta take on horror movies. Have you ever played the video game?
I did, and the game was enjoyable. It felt like an 80s horror film franchise video game that never made it to theaters, but it was enjoyable.
Yeah. And it's very kind of a meta take on horror movies in it. This movie doesn't seem like it brings any of that to it. It doesn't seem like it understands the video game. They try to bring in this element of like kind of like Happy Death Day, where they keep dying and then they keep coming back. That element, which I guess I can see, maybe they brought that in there because in the game, obviously in a video game, you can die and then come back, obviously, but in the game you make all these different choices, so I guess that's what their way of incorporating that into the movie. But I think that was not done very well here. The deaths in it, some of them are kind of get repetitive in a sense, but there's some kind of okay deaths. Again, it's much like what I Know What You Did Last Summer, where you have kind of a boring group of teenagers, 20 somethings together, who get brought together that are not very interesting there. So that's kind of one thing about it. Even though there was one guy I did kind of like, because he was an asshole. He was like the boyfriend of one of the characters.
Right.
And he was kind of the outsider, because all of them are pretty close-knit friends, and he was kind of like the outsider. He was kind of funny. I kind of liked some of the stuff he did. He was kind of funny, as much of an asshole he was. But other than that, I was like, yeah, this is not very good. Doesn't really capture the spirit of the game very well, or the creativity of the game. Then it's the whole thing of like, if you know the game, of like, there's a character like Rami Malek, like Peter Stormare, who's in it, who people might know. He was also in John Wick. He always plays like Russian villain, mob boss, and something. You
Right.
get Peter Stormare. And in the game, Peter Stormare is a figment of Rami Malek's imagination. But in this movie, it tries to portray it as like, is it a figment of her imagination? Is he not? Is he real? Like it is like kind of confuses the hell out of you, and it's like, yeah, this isn't very good. The best part of this movie is like there's a montage of them showing like all the times they died in it. That's only like a minute and a half in the movie. They show that. That's kind of the best part, but yeah, everything else is kind of just mediocre.
Yeah, this movie just always seemed so strange to me when I was seeing the advertisements because the video game is basically a creature feature with, 80s stock, teen characters in a cabin in the woods, so that kind of scenario. But then you get this movie where, like you said, it's Happy Death Day, it's a bunch of random ideas that don't really correspond to the game itself. It's just it's a very weird decision. I'm not really sure I understand why they would do it. I understand video game adaptations have a unique problem when they have to adapt game mechanics and storytelling into a medium that's so fundamentally different from games. But at the same time, this just seems so antithetical for everything Until Dawn does. So I just don't. Aside from IP recognizability, I have no idea why they didn't just call this time loop or just some death loop or something along those lines to make it something its own thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess that doesn't sell because it's like, well, if we did the video game, people know Until Dawn, so we can get some of the video game audience maybe interested in that. But I don't know. Yeah. So Until Dawn is on my list. There, it's just like for such a thing based on a creative video game, it's very generic. It's incredibly generic.
It's disappointing. It's disappointing to see all around.
Yeah. So, final movie on my list there is going to be their movie we've been talking about, movie that's been sweeping the world, much like the real War of the Worlds there. We got this film. A lot of people have been memeing it, making fun of it. Worst movie of 2025, worst movie ever. Having a lot of fun with it, and I had a lot of fun with it as well. That's why it's on my worst movie of the year. Ice Cube tour de force there. We have as the data analyst, William Radford, joining the rebellion, Disruptor there. Yeah, I mean this movie. I mean, you said it's crap. I mean, it's the effects are terrible. There's scenes where you can see Ice Cube in his glasses, a reflection, green screen. You could see that kind of going on. Him trying to bounce between all these screens, everything. Again, we talked about like this could be compelling because we had movies that have done this. Is a very like small, like I don't even know what you would call this genre. I don't know there's a name for this genre yet, but movies about people just on computer screens. There was like Unfriended, Missing, right. Searching. I didn't see Unfriended. I don't know if you saw it, but yeah, it's a very kind of small genre there. Again, maybe those things work because those are small scale, and this is like you're dealing with an alien invasion type, bigger scale type movie that maybe that just doesn't work there on this type of environment. But this was a very much a pandemic movie, COVID movie, where it's like, hey, this is, people can be isolated. We don't have to worry about COVID protocols. Ice Cube, he was supposed to be in another movie called The Fire Inside, but he had to drop out of that movie because he didn't want to take the shot. So he didn't want to take it, so he dropped out of it, and that's what Brian Tyree Henry replaced him. So I imagine this movie appealed to him because it's like, oh wait, I don't have to take the shot, but I can be in a movie and I can be isolated, so I can follow all that and not worry about that. Get a good check and kind of be done with it. It's an Amazon commercial. It's I mean, maybe they instead of paying people, they just gave everybody a free Amazon subscription. Instead of actually paying, but they actually gave people $1,000. Maybe they gave the whole cast instead of checks, they gave them $3,000 worth of Amazon gift cards instead. Yeah, I mean, this is just, I mean, you could talk about this movie endlessly with as much problems and issues as this movie has, but yeah. Do you have any final thoughts on it?
I definitely agree. I did like Unfriended, and I definitely agree with the sentiment that these sort of small scale screen, I guess you call them screen movies, could work on smaller scale budgets and ideas. But yeah, this movie just feels severely underrealized and undercooked in every way. And I definitely think it joins the esteemed pantheon of The Room and Birdemic and Samurai Cop and just tons of other like so terrible that it's enjoyable movies. So yeah, this movie's not good, but at the same time, there's a very compelling case that this is a fun movie to watch.
Yeah, like I said, best worst movie of 2025. There, you have a lot of fun, bringing just people over, drinking there. I think this will be a good time for that. The meme.
Take a shot every time Ice Cube does something that unintentionally makes you laugh. You'll be drunk by the end of the night.
Yeah, I've been watching his reactions on YouTube. They're killer, man. They're just incredibly funny there.
My favorite one is later in the movie when he does, "It's you." Like, that one is funny to me.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one's got memed a lot too. Let me see if I can go to that one. Oh yeah, here it is right here. Yeah, I think it's this one right here. Oh man. Hold on, let me go back a little bit. But you can watch this. Might actually put a whole compilation together. 6 minutes long.
I love the internet.
Won't stop until they have it all.
It's you. It's you.
Yeah. Well, yes, kind of.
How could you,
Yeah.
man? How could you?
Jeez. Oh man, yeah. That's hey man, Ice Cube, man. Listen, Ice Cube. I mean, he's good at being Ice Cube. He was good in Friday.
Right.
He was good in Boys in the Hood. 21 Jump Street. They utilized that effectiveness of him being Ice Cube in that. But yeah, so at least Ice Cube has Boys in the Hood and Friday and 21 Jump Street. The Weeknd's got nothing. He's got nothing. But like, wow, I really want to go back and watch this. At least Ice Cube's got those movies.
Right. I was saying I was saying a lot of smack about Ice Cube earlier, but I'll take some of it back. Like, he is good in specific things, but unfortunately, I just don't think this is a role that he could have made work. But like you said, at least he has some movies that people like, as opposed to The Weeknd, who has an HBO show that's reviled with The Idol and a movie that is like a long music video that no one actually wants to watch.
Yeah. So that was our list there of worst films of 2025 so far. We'll do a year in wrap up list there. Probably in January we'll do that. Where all the year is said and done. But yeah. So we'll be out of here. Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you for joining me, man.
Happy to be here.
Much appreciated. I'm gonna go ahead and raid somebody. Dante's on. He's playing Death Stranding Director's Cut.
All right.
So I'll go ahead and give him a raid. There. Upcoming streams. No stream Monday, no stream Wednesday. But Friday, hopefully Nick and Dust can join me. I'll be doing a review for Caught Stealing. I can't wait to not see that movie, not see that trailer in theaters anymore. I've been seeing that trailer everywhere. Thank God that movie's coming out, so I don't have to see that trailer anymore.
I keep thinking that movie is directed by Danny Boyle or Guy Ritchie. Like, it does not seem like an Aronofsky movie, but if nothing else, that's kind of what's interesting to me about it.
Yeah. What was his last one? Was it that Brendan Fraser movie? Was his last one?
Yeah, it was The Whale. Aronofsky, he's done stuff like Black Swan and The Fountain, The Wrestler, just all like very artsy, like thematically heavy movies. But then you get Caught Stealing, and it just kind of seems so, like, that's kind of what's interesting to me about it. It's so out of left field for him that I have to wonder, like, what's happening here.
Yeah, and I did not like The Whale, so I was like, maybe he can win me over Caught Stealing. So maybe Caught Stealing will be really good.
Right.
So yeah, there's Caught Stealing, then The Roses with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. So that's pretty much what we got lined up for there. No stream. Well, I may do an interview Saturday, so I may do that with a comic creator Saturday. No stream planned for Sunday. No stream. I'll do something with Sage this upcoming Monday. I'll talk to him about it. But yeah. So let me see. Send you over to Dante. Thank you so much again, Neil. Very much, man. Hope to see you again pretty soon.
Yeah, talk to you later.
All right. Stay tuned, everybody. Out of here.
Bye.